The American Springfield Trapdoor Rifle. Formally adopted in 1873, it became America's first standard-issue breech-loading rifle. In the wake of the Civil War, a conflict where both sides primarily used muzzle-loading rifles, it became apparent that the ability to use a metallic cartridge would provide a huge advantage over muzzle loaders. This specific example is actually a model 1884 rather than 1873, which is significantly improved based on a few factors that we'll discuss a little bit later. The lock plate features the Springfield Armory engraving and American Eagle, and the stock bears an 1889 cartouche indicating the production date. Let's go through the loading process of the Springfield Trapdoor. First, you have your safety notch, not unlike a Colt single-action Army. The second notch is for loading, and that allows you to insert a 4570 cartridge. To fire the rifle, you would bring the hammer back to full cock and release. When you open the breech block, it immediately kicks out the cartridge, which makes contact with a ramp located just under the breech block and allows it to fly away from the user's face. I will say it flies out with some haste. The defining feature of the 1884, aside from action strength, is the rear sight, called the Buffington rear sight, and it is quite convoluted actually, and I don't like it. It features an aperture and an open sight above, which is triangular, as well as a second aperture for far volley fire. The markings on the right side of the sight are for the two lower, and the markings on the left side are for the tall aperture for long distance volley fire. Yeah, it is pretty confusing. But let's shoot the rifle a bit. So here's the loading cycle. You can see I bring it to half cock, load a cartridge, swing the breech block down, take it to full cock, and fire. You can, of course, bring the rifle back to full cock and then fire if you prefer. I must say, every time I take a single-shot breech-loading rifle to the range, I have a lot of fun, and the Springfield Trapdoor is no exception to that at all. So I have experience firing a rolling block with speed, but I've never done it with a trapdoor. Here I attempt to do so. The problem I ran into is that the breech block actually has a tendency to spring back down and requires the user to lift it back up. The rolling block does not have this problem by nature of its design. Taking the rifle back to about 85 yards was pretty interesting, especially with these loads. They were cast 405 grain 45 caliber projectiles. The delay between the report and the round hitting the plate is pretty funny. And unfortunately, I did miss the last shot. Anyways, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this short overview of an American classic. The Springfield Trapdoor really was an icon, and it served America well for a very long time, until 1892, when the Krag replaced it. However, they did see service in the Spanish-American War still. Special thanks to Ventura Munitions, and thank you guys for watching.